All right, everyone. Welcome to our masterclass. This is the first one of 2025, and I'm really excited about this one. So today we are talking about soulful sales, creating heart-centered conversations that convert. And I think this is the most important part of all of our businesses, because if you like it or not, you are in sales. If you own a business, you are in sales. Sales is a major part of your business, but it doesn't have to feel icky, right? It doesn't have to feel like you're pressuring people to do things. So there is a very soulful art of just having conversations with people and turning them over. For me personally, if you've been here, you've probably heard me talk. I work with those hell yeses. I really don't heavy convert. I don't field objections unless, if someone asks me a question that's very different, or if they have an objection and I'm like, wait, you understood that incorrectly. That's not really an objection. That's just clarifying, but I'm never going to talk anyone into working with me. And the reason for that is because I really believe that when you're a hell yes, you'll do a lot more. You'll show up, you'll do the work, and you'll have the results. If you go into any relationship with anyone doubting the results or doubting that this was a good program for you, then you're not going to have the results. And I see it all the time. People spend money and, for coaches or programs, and they do all the things, but then they never finish the program because at some point they felt it wasn't really good for them, or they didn't like the way it was delivered, or whatever that was. Right. So sales is a big part of it. And you want people converting into your programs that want to be there, because then they create what I call raving fans. That's probably another class. I don't know if I'm doing it this year, but that's another good class. There is a book called Raving Fans, which was Ken Blanchard wrote it. It's about a 2-hour read. It's really, really thin, but it's all really about customer service and how you show up and bring value every single day. And that's really what's converting the sales, because people know, like, and trust you. They don't feel like in a pressured environment. So I want to ask, and you can either raise your hand or you can put it in the chat, but I want to ask, what made you come up and what made you come to this class today? Why are you here? What are you trying to get out of this class? I do this really so I make sure I answer all of your questions. But I really want to know, what made you want to be a part of this class today?
Yeah, I think it's that I have a tendency to do what you addressed earlier, that it's like, I get nervous around the sales piece of it, even though I know it's part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be like icky.
Yeah, I get you. All right. Let me read some of these. To learn how to attract clients without being frustrated. Oh, good one, Adam. Very good one. Wanting to know any good tips about sales and gaining greater confidence. So confidence is actually what converts. When you have so much confidence in what you do and what you offer, that's what people buy into. They buy into your energy, right? They buy into your confidence. And I can't tell you how many people tell me, like, I want to be like you. Right? That doesn't mean me and my business and what I have, but they want the energy that I'm putting out there, right? They want the confidence that I have in myself, my abilities, my sales, all of that. All right. So let's get started. I will share a little bit about my personal journey. A lot of you guys know me. You understand all of that. Soulful Sales was actually one of my accountability partners. I was talking to her about sales and how she did things just in a conversation, not as a client. And she's like, wow, you should really do a class on this. And I was like, oh, I didn't think that that was needed. And the funny thing is, I think I just do it so effortlessly, but it took years of practice. So it's not like something just came out that way. It's what has ended up to be, that I don't even look at it as a skill anymore. Right? I didn't know I was skillful at it till someone else brought it up. And that's a lot with a lot of the skills that we have. You don't know you have a skill because it becomes so naturally to you until someone else says that you have this skill. right? Sales is exactly the same way. It's just having really good conversations. And I will share that I'm an introvert. A lot of people don't think of me as an introvert because they see me on these classes and on lives and everything else, but I'm actually an introvert. So if I was to walk into an empty room, I do not walk up to people at all. I just have issues, but all of my friends are extroverts, and that's how I go out in the wild. Right? That I don't have to worry about it. But when it comes to business and teaching and doing what I do, I know it really, really well. I'm very confident in my skills, so I can talk about it, right? And teaching is one of those things that I do because I love doing it. So I just wanted you to know that it's not just for extroverts. If many of you identify as introverts, and many of you probably do because that's what I attract. But sales can actually come from this very authentic, heart-centered place. And that's what we're going to talk about, the conversations and the connections and the service that we put out there. If I can ask you, and you can put this in the chat, all of you, to share one word that describes how you currently feel about sales. One word. Frustrated, unworthy. Ooh, that's a big one. There's a lot to unpack in unworthy. Valuable, true. Opportunity. I love that, Laura. Challenging. All right. All good. Excited, but a bit scared. Okay. But we all love when we make a sale, right? That brings us a lot of joy inside. And we can tap into that joy and excitement when we're talking about sales or thinking about sales. So first, we're going to talk about the foundation of soulful sales. And I want you to reframe selling as this bad thing in your head to helping someone solve whatever problem they have or achieve a goal that they have, right? Your energy matters when you show up. I already said this. And you have to understand your offer. Know the products, the service that you provide. Sales is very difficult for anyone when you don't know the service you provide, when you don't have your messaging around it. So many times I see people trying to market their stuff, but they're not actually sure what they're selling, right? If I'm looking at your sales page and I have no idea what you're selling, or if it's a lot of words that everyone else uses, it's not a clear message, and it's a messaging problem, not a products problem. It's not your service. I always say I work with people that are really great at what they do. They're already really good. I can't make you better at what you do, but I can tell you how to package it or put it out to the world, right? I can create a business from it, but I can't make you good at what you do. Sales is a part of that and having a lot of confidence, but you also have to be really clear on what you're selling. So the first thing you want to do is look at your packages, look at your pricing. It's not a pricing issue. I will tell you right now, it is not a pricing issue. If you say it's just too expensive, people can't afford it, your messaging is wrong around that, right? It's never too expensive, and there are people that can afford it. If you're asking the right people, right? You might have who you're asking might be wrong, right? You might be putting the offer to the wrong person. But if you have a very clear package and a good price for that package, it provides a lot of value to the right person. It's a no-brainer, right? So if you don't have one of those things, it's something else, right? Because if you're solving a problem, you should be able to sell it, right? I design businesses. So I talk to people that are either going into entrepreneurship from a career, right? I always say we convert their wisdom into wealth, right? Or they've tried it and it's really not working, right? They're not consistent in their sales. They're still around $2,000 or $3,000 a month, and it's not consistent, right? Because then we just have to figure out what isn't consistent. If you're already good at what you do and you're telling me you're good, then let's find out what's consistent. So it's the packaging, the pricing, and all of that. And then it's how are you talking about it? So you want to align your sales approach with the values that you have, and you want to stay very authentic, right? Sales is an energetic exchange. When you're in alignment, it feels natural, it feels abundant, it's easy, it's very easy. I will say that when I go to sell something, one of the things you have to do is always make an offer, but don't be attached to the outcome. Sometimes people just don't make the offers. They're like, I don't understand why they don't work with me. Well, have you ever made an offer for them to work with you? Have you ever said, hey, I can solve that problem. Here's how I can do it. Right? That's making an offer. It doesn't mean that people are going to buy into that offer. Right? They might just say, oh, that's not good for me at this time, or I'm not feeling it. If there's objections, we'll talk about that a little later. You can answer them in a very authentic and truthful way. One of the things I want to be very clear at is don't pretend to be somebody you are not. Right? Because if I was out there pretending to be extroverted, right, I'm going to get extroverted clients that don't resonate with me. Right? If I pretended I wasn't full of woo, I'm going to get clients that don't understand who I am. And some of you might be saying, oh, but when I hide my woo, I don't really want to put it out there because people aren't going to buy into that. That's what's actually stopping your sales. Because if that's who you are in your core or your core belief system, that's what you need to resonate. So people go, oh, we have that in common, right? I have this unique dovetailing of what I call science and soul, right? I am deeply spiritual. I talk about universe. I talk about spirit. In my programs, we set intention cards before we have our day. We talk about our intuition because that's what drives me and my business, right? I'm highly intuitive. I'm claircognizant. I get messages. So if I'm working with someone and I'm getting messages, what am I going to say? Like just ignore spirit in my ear saying, this is what you got to do, right? I can't do that. It's a part of who I am. I used to do it, but I don't do it any longer because I realize when I put myself out there, my truth, that's what comes back. That's who I attract, right? If you start to use words like fear or like last chance or what are some other ones people use? They try to get clients based on fear instead of the transformation that they'll feel afterwards, right? If you talk about the transformation, right? When I have my business accelerator, it's a 14-week program. People come in always not so sure about what their next steps is, but I've usually interviewed everybody. So I know they're uniquely gifted and I think they're powerful. Otherwise, they wouldn't be invited into the program. But they don't always know yet what their unique talent is in the world or what they can offer the world, right? But I guarantee them in 14 weeks, they'll have a full plan and have packages and pricing and have a full business plan, right? I would say, I have to think just before I make this statement. Yes. Every single person that has been through that program has made sales by like the 6th week. And I even had someone in that program that didn't want to implement it until it was all done and ended up making sales by mistake. Right? Because we were just practicing being authentic, practicing who we are, putting out in the world. And part of it is going to networking events and we teach you different things about your title and how you talk about yourself, right? And we have to practice. So we practice, we mess up, we come back, we do it again. Like this felt good, this doesn't feel good. When it feels good and authentic to you, like it just flows out of your mouth, that's who you are, right? For all of you that are working on your pitches, if it doesn't flow naturally and you keep reading, that's not who you are. Because when it's who you are, it just clicks. You know it. You can say it over and over and over again, right? I never practice for things. I'm always amazed at what comes out of my mouth, right? But that's what I do best is just show up and talk, right? When I try to script, it is really bad. It is really bad. I'm creating some online courses right now. And I'm like, I just give myself a bullet point and I talk for 15 minutes. And I was like, that is the best freaking content I have. Because if I try to script it, I can't. Now, when I'm teaching things like this, I do have an outline that I'm looking at to make sure I touch all of the points. But I do not script most of these things. It's to remember that I have things that I have to hit. All right. Any questions so far? I change it every time. Yeah, I do too. Take intentional action without concern for the outcome. Yeah, that is it. So I want to talk about when we go into networking events, right? One, you have to understand your ideal client. When you are going to a networking event or you're meeting people out in the wild, everyone is not your client. Everyone is not your client. You may be wildly gifted at whatever your talent is. Really, really good, incredible results. But you cannot help everyone, and everyone is not your client, right? You have to understand who your client is. And I do have a masterclass on creating your avatar, which I think is one of my best. It's in YouTube. You can get it over there. And please subscribe if you're in my YouTube channel. But when you are so crystal clear on who your client is, you can find them in the wild, right? You should not be trying to convince people to buy your products, right? And everyone you talk to is not your end client. So what I do is if I'm at a networking event, one, I'm very specific about the networking events I go to. I test a lot of them. When they feel right and good, I'll continue to go to those, right? I figure out who my people are. And when I say my people, that's my first sort of, are they my people? Or are they not my people? My people is just a soulful being in the world. That's my people, right? Just a soulful being. This is not someone I'm going to sell to, but do they resonate with who I am as a person? Do they accept me and honor me as I am? Because that's what I want to do back, right? So is it a soulful person? That's my first sort. And I'm assuming if you're in this class, this is probably a very good first sort for you, right? Do they respect my work? Can I talk about my work and they'll honor my words, right? I'm not hiding a piece of myself. I'm not saying stuff that I do, right? So they're either your people or not your people. If someone's my people, I always invite them to a one-on-one. So while I'm on a networking, and I do almost all of my networking online, I put up, not Zoom, LinkedIn, right? My favorite social media in the world. I put up LinkedIn. I look them up because my brand is soul professional, right? I think if you're a professional, you have a LinkedIn profile. If you do not, you're probably not my client. Doesn't work every single time, but 90% of the time, you're not my client, right? I see if they have a LinkedIn profile. And then I reach out there and say, hey, it was great to meet you at such and such event. I'd love to have a one-on-one to learn more about you and your work, right? It's about them, not about me. I'd love to learn more about you and your work. 9 out of 10 times they're like, great. And I always ask for their calendar link. One, I don't have one. And two, it's a lot easier for me just to find a date that fits because I usually talk to people twice a week, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and have those conversations, right? Energetically, it just works for me. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my days where I talk to new people in the world. And in that conversation, it is just a conversation. I never go in there thinking that that is my end client, thinking that I'm making a sale. That is not where my sale gets made. Adelia, just let me finish this point. That is not where my sale gets made. I always ask them first, tell me about you. Tell me about your work. I do ask questions that are related to my work. How long have you been doing this? What drove you to this? How do you get clients, right? Is your business full? Do you do one-on-one work? Because, right, I design businesses. So I ask a lot of questions about their business. If you had a different business, if you were a writer, you'd ask, who does your writing now? Who's done it in the future? How do you feel about writing, right? If you're in health, you'd probably ask, what's your diet like now? Are you sleeping through the nights? Like you would ask questions that related to your work, but they're just answering them, right? You're not drilling down. And one of the things I work with my clients are they're called qualifying questions, right? You're asking some questions to see if they're your client. And depending on what they say, we could have further conversation. Then they ask about me. And when they ask about me, I specifically talk about something that would be of interest to them because now I know their story, right? I do not vomit 15 things I can do for them, right? They do not want a list of all the skills I have, right? They just want to hear, this is what I do. This is how I got started. I have this free community. Come, if they're my people, come over there. Come learn more about me, my people, my friends. Like, they're great people in the world. I always ask, is there someone I can introduce you to or help you in any way? If they have a question or a concern, or they're even stuck in their business, I help them, right? It is not to be an end client. 9 out of 10 times when someone wants to be in your world, they'll start asking you questions, right? Tell me about your programs. If I liked you, or if I wanted to do this, how would I learn more? What's the best steps for me, right? And I can say, hey, why don't you come over to the networking to see if you're a part of the community, right? If I'm not sure, I'll send them there first. Why don't you come to a free masterclass? You can see how I teach. If I'm in, right? There's no hard sale here, because once I get them in my community, they will be drawn to me in my programs, right? If they're interested, then we set up another call to talk about any other programs, concerns. Sometimes they answer an email. I saw this program. I'm not sure if it was for me. Let's jump on a call. It is not a call to close them. It is a call to answer questions. If I think they're good, I'll say, hey, I think you're a great fit for this program, right? But I do it with a very open mind, and I'm never attached to the outcome. And I think that's where we feel the sales. If you're going into any sales conversation with, I got to sell, I got 10 points. I got to do this. This program's going off. They feel that energy and they immediately take a step back. I do it as well. I'm not your person. Even if I need it, if I feel that energy, I'm out, right? Because I'm very, very careful about the energy that I put myself in. Adele, you had a question?
I think you just answered it, because
Okay.
I was like, so if you're always going to their link first, how are you building your email list? But then it's like, after they go to your free thing, they're coming on your list. So yeah, I like that strategy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
At the top of my funnel is something free. And that serves in many capacities, right? So people can go out and learn about me, who I am, who follows me. And people will seek you out. If there's no place to find you, it's going to die, and they're going to start to look for someone else, right? Someone's not always ready for your services when you're ready to give them. And people follow me when I tell you, for years. And then all of a sudden I'll see someone like buy a program. That happened with one of who's a big client now. I was like, who is this person? I recognized the name. I put out a class last year, and they bought it. Like the second it went out, like within 24 hours of announcing it, they bought it. And I was like, who is this person? Looked through my database. I was like, oh my God, they've been following me since 2018. Never came to a thing. I guess something hit, and they're a big client now. And it's just timing, right? I was there when they were ready to scale. Right. And that's what you have to be. You can do that through newsletters or videos. I do it through video because I feel like there is so much noise out there right now. I don't post really on Facebook or Instagram. My people aren't there. You have to figure out where your people are, and you're not just shouting from mountaintops and selling, right? You're actually educating and allowing people to know who you are. So this year, we're actually building up my YouTube channel. And this week, we just changed everything to my name, because I never even branded my name. And now I got that idea like, I should brand my name. One day I'll have a website. I don't even have a website yet. Because all of my work is word of mouth. Like 100% of my work is word of mouth. It all comes through referrals. So it makes sales very easy because people are introduced to me all the time. They've experienced my work. They introduce new people to me all the time. And you can have businesses like that too. Every single one of us can. But the sales part is really giving of yourself and being very open to those people that are checking you out, but there has to be a place for them to check you out, right? If you've been on podcasts, I'm on podcasts a lot. I'm on videos a lot. That's why I have free stuff. I have free networking because people love to network. And I want the people that I work with to know each other. So it's easy for me. And they do a lot of my community does amazing stuff on their own. Like they just meet each other and do more things. And it's amazing. And I love watching podcasts where two people that I introduced are talking to each other and having, I just had two of my clients that were in my last accelerator just did a podcast and they tagged me in it. And it's on LinkedIn. And the whole first 5 or 10 minutes, they talked about me and the accelerator program. And I was like, wow, that is pretty freaking awesome because that's where they met. It was pretty awesome. And I sent it to my team. I was like, we should probably do something with this. I was like, this is a very good testimonial for us. All right. Any questions before I move on? Yeah, I talked about qualifying questions. I'm reading my outline. Oh yeah. Building trust. That's the next part. When you're meeting anyone in networking, right? Then you have your one-on-one, then you can invite them to something free if you have it. But the first thing you want to do is that know, like, and trust factor. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. It's like you're building the relationship before you're pitching. You are not pitching right away. You are building the relationship. And that's why I like free stuff, right? Because that's passively building that relationship. A lot of people feel they know me and they probably haven't talked to me. I do a lot of one-on-ones because I actually enjoy them. I love learning about what people are doing and helping them out, whether they become a long-term client or not. It's just who I am. But I'm building relationships all along by leaving videos all over the world. Focus on understanding and not persuading. So if someone has a question or something that you've learned through your qualifying questions, like what's your biggest challenge right now when it comes to your business, right? Or what would success look like for you, right? You can ask some of these coaching questions. A good one for me is, what have you already tried that worked or didn't work? Because many people come to me after they've already spent a ridiculous amount of money on business coaches. A ridiculous amount. Denise, I see your head going, So that's a good qualifying question for me, right? They're usually so frustrated by the time they've met me. They do not want to be pitched, right? The first thing I want to do is reach out and help them. It's the olive branch. How can I help you? I'm sorry you had that experience, but where are you stuck? Let me help you. And I do a lot of free sessions just to help people out, right? Just get them over that hump because there's a block there. And sometimes it's just a little tweak and we can get you going again. It's not that big of a deal, right? So we're building trust by doing things like that. Storytelling. This is so important. You have to be able to share relatable stories with the person you're talking to, right? That highlights your values, highlights your expertise, and hopefully highlights a client story with someone who is exactly like the person you're talking to. So that's one of the reasons I always ask them to go first, is because I want to hear their story, what got them there, where they're stuck, right? And then I use a client story, like, oh, I had someone like that. This is what they went through. This is how I helped them, something like that. Right? Because you're not selling them then, you're sharing a story of success that you've had with another client. It is low-key selling, right? I do it so naturally now. Like it's also called seeding. I do it so naturally. I don't even know it. Like, oh, I had someone like this. This is how does that help you? Right. Because to me, sometimes it helps to hear that other people had that problem too. Or just to say, oh, that's really common. This is how I deal with that with my clients. Right. All of you should have 2 or 3 really good client stories that you can share with people. And in the accelerator that I do, we actually practice them. Once we get them down, we practice them for like 6 or 7 weeks, client stories, because they're part of your pitch. They're part of your sales. Any questions? I'm reading through my notes while I'm asking her. Any questions? Is all of this resonating? You understand? So you understand it's like dating, right? You don't go off and propose right when you meet someone, right? It's those little steps of getting to know each other, hearing the stories. You're doing the dance before you're going to the altar, right? Each time you're talking is just like dating, right? I jump on the call with people all the time, especially if I find them to be, to have a lot of potential or something that's really interesting to me. Like if you have an idea and I find it really interesting, I'm going to keep following up and be like, hey, what are you doing with that idea? Because I want you to bring it to the world, but I can't get it to the world unless you're ready, right? But I do a lot of check-in calls. Just like, hey, where are you right now? What are you checking in? What are you doing? Are you ready? And you should do that too. Everyone, once you meet someone in networking, you should have some type of follow-up system, right? If it's email, if it's one-on-one, quarterly check-ins. So I have a list of people that will never be my client, but we work with the same types of clients. So we have like quarterly calls where we're checking in. How can I help you? Who you need to be introduced to? And I have regular people that I introduce all the time to make sure that I'm helping them build their network. I will never make a dime off of these people, but they may refer into me, right? I refer to them, they refer to me, right? No attachment, no referral fees. We're just being good people in the world. Right. And that's an important part of sales because you're known for that, right? You get known. I'm known. Someone said that I was like a super connector. I don't know if that's true, but all right. Those who are starting out and don't have client stories yet, what would be the approach to show expertise and value for them? If you're just starting out, like I'm assuming that you're a coach or something, you probably have coached someone. Even when for your certification, you probably have a client, a story, right? Just think of something that you could share. I love the book, The Prosperous Coach. If you guys haven't read that book, and it's really about just giving value. Maybe coach that person. How can I help you? Right? I coach people all the time. If it's small, if it's really big, I'm like, this is going to cost you, but if it's just small or a tweak, because I do have a knack to just see, okay, there's a little bend in your straw right here. Let's just fix that and you'll be good. So you just have to figure out what that is, but be open, coach other people, say, can I help you with that? All right. And Laura asked, do you use a CRM spreadsheet or other technique to remember to follow up with people? I do have a great CRM system, but I have shared this many times before. I also have this great system. I literally write everyone's name, and you can see, I don't want you guys to be able to see the names. If they have a star on this side, those are people that are not my clients, but I want to keep in contact with, right? There's another star that means these are my people. Doesn't mean they're a client. And then there's another symbol if these people can really use some strategy work. I don't know if they're ready or not. Right. And it says the person's name, the month I met them, because I have a thing that I meet 20 new people every single month since 2020. Right. And these are these sheets. I also have a CRM that keeps all of my notes. So I can go back and see the last time we talked, this is what happened. If you don't have a CRM, you could use a spreadsheet. You could do it by hand like I do. You can also use a Word document and just use keywords. And if it's all in one document, you can search on words. I started like a year ago writing what people actually did, because what was happening, because I have so many conversations, I'm like, I just met someone who did that. Who was it? And I didn't have the note, and I couldn't search my notes because I didn't have it next to their name. So I need a little better way to do that. And I don't tag everyone in my CRM that way. So there are a lot of very easy ways, and there's a lot of like free programs out there. I have a very expensive CRM, but there are cheaper ones out there like Sales Notes and other things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If anyone has really good ones or you figured it out, put it in the chat so everyone can share. If you've figured out a great way to do that. I would not overcomplicate it though. A spreadsheet would work exactly the same way.
Great. Thank you. I just started using HubSpot, and that the free version, and someone else told me less annoying CRM, although not the best name, but people like that. But
I'm not familiar. HubSpot I am familiar with. I think it's good. It's mostly sales related. So it depends. Yeah. Let me see what else we got there. Oh, presenting your offer. That's the next part. How many more points do I have? Okay. You have to make offers. And I said this early. So you want to present your offer like I can help you with. You can offer a solution as an opportunity to help, but not as a hard sell. Like, I have this program, it may help you, right? You also want to always use the client's own words. So if they're describing something to you, you want to use those same words to describe it back. It's called mirroring, right? It's used in counseling a lot. So they know that you understand their pain point, right? Or I understand a lot of my clients have that same pain point. I understand how frustrating it could be to, not understand sales. I understand how hard it is to put a program out there, then no one buys it, right? And then remind them that the program could be fabulous. It just could be a kink in your sales system or your messaging or the name or any other thing, right? Always focus on the benefits, but not the features, right? The transformation. When you come in, you'll be here and you'll go here, right? You'll come in stressed, but you'll leave calm. Whatever that looks like, you want to talk about that transformation. You don't want to say, and I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this, right? They don't want to hear that. They just want to hear about the transformation that you're going to be taking them through so they can understand, because they want the transformation. They're buying the transformation and they're buying the confidence that you can bring them there. Does that make sense? They don't care how you do it. And they rarely care how much it costs if that's what you can get them, right? The cost is usually not the factor, because if someone wants to get that transformation, they'll do it. They don't really care what the cost is, right? And you can always help with payment plans if they're not ready yet. But I find when people are ready, they take the leap. They're not asking about the cost. They ask me most that I can guarantee a transformation, right? And I'll tell you all, I don't guarantee anything, because I can't make you show up. But if you show up and do the work, you will get a transformation, right? If anyone ever asks you to guarantee your stuff, don't guarantee anything. I wouldn't guarantee anything, because you can't guarantee what they do. When I had my membership, people used to be like, well, I joined and this is what I was expecting. I was like, yeah, but you never showed up. You paid for the mastermind and you were really good at making payments, but you never showed up. So what did you think you were going to get out of that? Just being in the essence of it isn't doing it, right? You got to show up. Handling objections. That's my 6th point. You can reframe objections as questions. like if someone says that's way too expensive for me, you can say, I understand what would need to happen for this to feel like it's a valuable investment for you. Because sometimes it's not actually the cost, is that they didn't understand the transformation that they'd get. And they might say, well, if you can just guarantee, right? And there's softer and different ways to say that. Or they just say, I'm not ready, right? What would readiness look like for you? So you can understand, because sometimes what comes out of their mouth isn't actually their objection, right? I am not, like I told you this, like not a hard sell. But I do want to make sure that I've answered all of their questions. And if objection is because they don't understand, then I want to clarify. Does that make sense? I'm clarifying so they have all the information. And I know myself, we attract who we are, by the way. So if it doesn't work for you, it ain't going to work for your client, right? I never, ever, ever make a decision in the moment. I just don't, right? So I don't expect my clients to make a decision in the moment, right? And if they do, sometimes it's scary for me. I always say, take 24 hours, take some time, and no. 9 out of 10 times they hang up the phone within an hour. Yeah, I'm in. Like I thought about it, I'm in. Like I just needed to hang up the phone, right? It happens almost all the time. I don't. I know people that do it. Give like, if you sign up today, I'll give you $500. That immediate bonus. It doesn't work for me, so I'm assuming it doesn't really work for other people. It just puts more pressure, and I don't like pressure, so I try not to put pressure on my people. Right? I'm very honest with I lost my train of thought because I started to read. Yeah, I like how Jen said I meet people with where they're at. And I do the same, right? I try never to pressure them. I want them to feel comfortable. I do give payment plans. Like if it's an issue, like the payment is the issue, I'm like, let's break it down more if that's gonna help you. What was I gonna say? The only thing that I do, and more, it's an integrity thing for me. If someone bought a program at a certain price, I will never offer it lower, ever. Even a sale will never go lower than a person has paid for it. Because that's just my own integrity. I just don't do it. Like, because someone paid more, I will never offer it for less. It keeps my integrity up. I always say I need 24 hours. It'll make me feel better. Pressure says, yeah. Say I'm exactly the same way. So I offer that to my clients as well. Handling objections, closing with confidence. Okay. Always provide a clear and simple call to action. Call to action is you're telling them the next steps. Many times we're not offering, or we're not telling them the next steps. Like, let me know in 24 hours if you want to jump into this program with me, right? Just tell them, I have about 24 hours and I'll let you do it, right? If you feel this is a good fit, I'd love to book a call with you to go over the next steps. I do that a lot. I book calls all the time. You don't have to. That's just the way I do business, right? I'd rather talk someone through the steps because they usually have more questions than they're thinking, right? But that call to action is telling them this is your next step, right? That's what you want to do, right? If you have a free program, you might at the end tell them, here's my next paid program. At the end of your entry program, you might say the next step is this next program, right? Tell them what the next step is so they know. You can give 2 options too. I love 2 options, right? Here's the next step. Some of my clients do this. Some of my clients do this. Right? Give them next step options. I'm reading, sorry. The final words of encouragement. Provide the script. Okay. That's pretty much it. I always wrap up with a follow-up. right? Would it be okay if I called you 24 hours from now? Would it be okay? I found that with my accelerator people, when they come out of the accelerator, they're invited to a mastermind experience, right? They can go. I have found that when they come out of the accelerator, it's been 14 weeks of go, 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 that they don't want to jump into a program that's going to continue. So now I have a 90-day follow-up of digest it, and then let me follow up and see if you're ready to go into the mastermind with other graduates. Right. I learned that there is a break because almost everyone takes a break and then they join. So now I just made it part of it. I'm aware of it. It's too much for them to jump into the next. It doesn't mean people won't, but some people just need the break of not working with me to realize how much they liked working with me. Right. And that's an easier sale for me. I don't have to worry about it. I just have to remember to follow up with them. And if they want to come into the next program, we can build from there. So they needed a little bit of a break. It had nothing to do with me, right? All right. We have about 10 more minutes. Is there any questions? Something I didn't follow through on or didn't mention? How does this kind of selling differ from other kinds of mainstream styles of selling? So in my opinion, mainstream selling is don't let them off the phone until they commit. Right? Get a deposit. I've been trained, like, get a credit card number before you get them off the phone. They like tell them they can cancel later. Like, you put pressure on them to do things. Most people are not in the caring, let me hear what you have to say, authentic way of selling. I find that it's a much easier way to sell when you have that trust factor. Of course, the more confident you are and the longer you're in business, the easier that is, because once you can say no to people, it kind of feels greater because I know in the last accelerator, not the one that's going off this week, but the last one, I turned down I would say 2 or 3 people because I didn't feel like they were ready. And I know if I let them in, it was more money in my pocket, but it would not have been the best group for the people that I already promised a great group to, right? So I'd rather go off with less people that I know are meant as a good cohort than muddy it up for the money, right? Because that's also my integrity, right? I need to make sure that everyone's coming out and there's not a person that's holding everyone else back. So when I put together these cohorts, they're very, very intentional about who's in it, right? So that's a part of sales because my integrity matters. That's one of my core values, right? Adam, I hope that answered your question. I feel like there's a big difference between hard selling and what I'm calling the soulful sales, right? Really getting to know someone, taking your time, but you're going to have to keep the follow-up and the relationship going. Yes, thank you. Jen, attract who you want, repel the rest. Not all money is good money. I totally agree. And I do believe that when you allow space to let things go, better things fill it. Right? Yeah. Erin.
I was just wondering where we can find more info about your program.
About the accelerator?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll drop it in the chat. It is always on the website. You can go to soulprofessional.com. We do have an accelerator that is going off next week. I only have 2 spots. But if you want to talk about it, we can jump on a call.
Oh, thank you.
So I know more about you. It's not for everybody. I will tell you that. What else? Any other questions? Did you find this helpful? Yeah, good. Good. I do recommend going to our YouTube channel. Wait, I'll do better. I will drop that in. I have to get into the habit of dropping my YouTube channel. But if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will always be notified Sorry. You will be notified every time I drop. It has a better extension than that, but I'm Camille L. Miller. We just changed that over. If you go to nlbp.tv, that is also my YouTube channel. And we just switched it over to my name. So all of the master classes I have ever taught are there. The one on the avatar, I think, is one of my favorites. There are some other ones, all in soulful selling, soulful sales, attracting clients. It's all through a soulful lens. Every single thing I do, I teach the fundamentals of business, but through a soulful lens. So it's always through the law of attraction, the laws of reciprocity, all of that. That's what I believe. That's what I do. So you can find everything out there. Just a reminder, you are all welcome to come to our networking events. We only have one a month. It's the third Tuesday of every single month at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and you are all welcome. And these masterclasses are the fourth Thursday of every single month if you want to join me live. And you can go to the website and join, which is also soulprofessional.com. And there's a whole list of everything that I teach. Once you join, you do get the reminder. So if you just put it in your calendar to join us on the fourth Thursday at 1 p.m., you'll have the spot open. All right. Anything else I can answer before I let you go? You are welcome. You are welcome, everybody. Please reach out if I can help you in any way. We do have the free Facebook group. You could always ask me a question there. I actually see everything that goes there. So if you have a question in your own business, you can post it there and I will answer it. And a lot of times, many other people will jump in and answer it as well. So feel free to do that. And that's all I got for today. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you in the community. Please reach out if I can help you in any way, or if you need information about any of our programs. And that's about it. Please subscribe on YouTube.
Thank you. This was great.
All right, everyone. Bye-bye.